Hi, today I'd like to share with you our model for helping leaders to unleash full potential. It starts by looking at the employees' expectations. Since COVID, so post COVID, we've seen a real change in employees' sort of attitudes and expectations. They have had time to reflect on their career during COVID and during the lockdowns to think, is this really something I want to be doing? There's been a lot of thought going into work life balance, mental well being, and all of those things. And so, one of the top expectations employees are having is to feel inspired, to work for an organization that is inspirational, that inspires them to feel that they are contributing something towards society and the greater good of man, and still taking into consideration some of the things like climate change and the impact that it's having on society. So they want to work for an organization that has clarity as to where they are going. They want to then be led through the change. So they've now identified the organization where they're wanting to go and what the strategy is going to be for the organization. Now they want to go from point A to point B, and they want to be led through that change. And living in this VUCA world, especially since post-COVID, what we can guarantee, the one thing we can guarantee is change. In fact, it's constant, and it's just going to increase the rate of change. If we start taking into consideration AI and all these other things coming along the line, it's changing the world the whole time. So they need to feel comfortable that they can be led through the change. They then want to be able to use their cognitive ability to think critically, problem solve. We're going from the vision, we're going to go through the change, and how we're going to now deliver the plan for getting to point B. They want to have trust, and they want to trust, first of all, in their leadership, or in their immediate leadership, the leadership of the organization, and the organization, that they have a future within the organization, and they want to trust that they can contribute towards that future as well. They definitely want to have ownership. They want to own their roles and take full ownership, and also, in a way, take the accountability. So organizations and leaders need to look at how can you promote and stimulate that ownership requirement. And then they want the autonomy. So not only do they want the ownership of the job, they want to have the freedom and autonomy to go and deliver the results. So this is really important. These are the key elements that we've seen within the employees' expectations. So taking those elements, what have we created as far as our model is concerned? Well, we can immediately jump in and see that we go from inspiration to strategy. And in strategy, we actually look at exploring the possibilities, resolving the complexity, breaking down what the vision and the goals need to be, and then creating that vision. What is the opportunity that is out there for the organization? We then look at taking them through leading through change. We want to be able to help set priorities, and that's sharing the objectives that are important, challenging any of the misalignment that it can come, and building commitment that everybody is on the same page, moving with the priorities to go from point A to point B. We can then see that they want to, in that thinking critically, cognitive space, they want to be problem solving, and that's devising the plan. So what we look at as the designing the systems. What are the systems that need to be in place in order for us to go from point A to point B? Or how do we apply the rules, and what are the rules that need to be applied? And we need to then also ensure that we have quality going forward, because this is really important. If you start taking shortcuts and diminish the quality, you run the risk of damaging the potential end results. We then look at taking that trust, and this is key, trust is only formed through relationships. And so what we look at here is, how do people make connections? How do they express their feelings? Are we creating the right psychological safety for people to express their feelings? It's really key in today's world. And then when they're expressing their feelings, how do we go about resolving any potential conflict that comes as a result of that? We're then looking at taking it from ownership into a win-win. So in a win-win, what we want to be doing is looking at how do people collaborate with others and the team. How do they go about triggering the right action that needs to take place? And how do they support one another as they take this ownership in the win-win environment? And then last but not least, we start looking at the autonomy, and we're looking at outcome focus. So as I said earlier on, They want to own the job, and the best way to do is to give them the ownership of the job and then hold them accountable by delivering the outcomes. So we look at how do we raise those ambitions, how do we measure the outcomes, and more importantly, how do they achieve the various goals. And for me, this is our 6 steps here, but we have another 2 additional steps, which are the glue. And the glue actually works in all 6 of these steps. So let's have a look at the glue. The first one is coping with pressure. And while coping with pressure, they've got to provide hope for that the future will be positive. They need to be able to demonstrate resilience and manage the emotions. We spoke a lot about today about emotional intelligence and the need to manage those emotions. Because if we are going to always allow our emotions to take control, we become reactive. And if we can manage our emotions, we become reactive, or respond rather. So that's the key. So if we let our emotions rule us, we are reacting all the time. And if we can manage our emotions, we are in a position where we can respond rather than react. And the next part of that is, for me, is the glue, is leading through the process. As I said, each one of these 6 steps can be addressed through these last 2 steps, 7 and 8. And if you think about leading through a process, that can be in the strategic side, it can be in the prioritizing side, it can be in devising the plan, or relationship building, or win-win, or holding people accountable. All of those 6 areas will at some stage have the need for these 2 glue elements. So in the leading through process, what we're looking at is how do we provide direction, how do we stimulate learning, and how do we adapt to making decisions. So that's an overview of our model. As a result of all that, we are able to then look at the leadership as a group. We're able to look at what is the leadership gap analysis, where are interventions required, and we can look at it from an individual leader's perspective. Thank you for taking the time to listen. If you've got any questions, please reach out directly using one of the contact methods on screen. Thank you.